Welcome to your practice today. Begin in mountain pose, Tadasana, connecting to your breath and preparing for a nice vigorous practice today. We're going to really work the hips, so we'll begin by taking a wide stance and flowing with the breath. Coming down into a wide-legged squat and then reaching back up. Breathe in as you reach up and breathe out as you lower down. Finding a pace that feels just right to your body today. We can change up the arms here, adding a little hip hinge forward and sweeping as if you're gathering big armfuls. You might even add a little bit of brain balancing by changing the hand that's in front every time that you sweep down. Come back to your wide-legged position in stillness, taking a little pause. And then we'll come all the way back up to standing and turn towards the top of the mat, coming forward to mountain. From here, reach all the way up and slowly hinge forward into your forward fold. We're going to move right into some sun salutations here. We'll start really gentle, bringing your back knee to the ground and pausing in a low lunge for a few deep breaths. We'll come back with the other foot all the way into child's pose. And then we'll shift through a kneeling vinyasa, coming to plank, lowering all the way to the ground, lifting up into Cobra, Bhujangasana, lowering back down, and then drifting back to child's. We'll tuck our toes and lift up to downward facing dog. Take a big reach up with your right foot. And instead of coming to your regular lunge, come to a wide lunge or lizard. We'll take a few breaths here in an effort to start to warm up the inner thighs, the hips, and then step the other leg all the way forward into garland, taking this as lifted or as deep as feels right to your body. Bring your hands to the ground and lift your hips, moving the feet back to hip width distance apart and sweeping all the way up. Returning to mountain. We'll do another round just like that, leading with the left leg this time, reaching up to extended mountain, folding forward, stepping back with the left foot and lowering the back knee to the ground. Stay here in your low lunge for several breaths. And then sink all the way back to child's pose. Take your time to flow through your vinyasa, lowering all the way to your belly, lifting up into Cobra, releasing down, and returning to child's. Right from here, we can tuck our toes and pull back to downward facing dog at Adho Mukha Svanasana. Lift your left leg up, guide it forward to that lizard lunge, taking your knee out to the side of your shoulder, and breathe. We'll move right into Malasana, garland, placing your elbows right against your inner thighs and keeping your spine long and upright. Bring your hands to the floor and shift back into your regular forward bend. Pressing into your feet, rise up to extended mountain and return the hands to the front of the chest. Once again, we'll reach up and bend down into forward fold, Uttanasana. Step back with the right leg and lower the back knee. This time, perhaps you reach one arm up, deepening that low lunge a little bit, and then bring it back down and step directly back to downward facing dog. So we're taking it up a little notch this time, shifting through to high plank, coming through upward facing dog, and then returning to downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up into the air and take a big step forward into that lizard lunge. This time dropping your back knee to the ground, getting a little deeper stretch. Stay here for a few cycles of breath, and when you're ready, step forward back to garland or Malasana. We'll press into our forward bend, soften the knees, and rise up to extended mountain, Utthita Tadasana. Return to center, and we'll do it again. Reaching up and folding forward. Take a little look ahead and step back with your left leg, guiding your back knee to the earth, and perhaps reaching your left arm all the way up. Bring both hands down to frame your front foot and step back to downward facing dog, preparing for that flow through to plank, Chaturanga Dandasana, Urdhva Mukha Svanasana, Adho Mukha Svanasana. We meet back in downward facing dog. This time we'll step the left leg forward and come into that low lizard lunge, dropping the back knee to the earth. And then tucking the back toes and stepping forward into garland. Bring your hands to the earth, heel toe into your forward fold, and then circle sweep all the way up to extended mountain. Return to mountain pose and take a breath. Again, we'll reach up and fold down. And this time, reach your right leg up into the air, into a standing split, and start to add some curls, bringing the knee in towards the belly and then stretching it back up. We'll do 3 of those on one side, and then bring your foot back to the earth. Once you're feeling steady, draw the opposite leg up. Guide your knee in towards your chest, then stretch up to your standing split, and continue on for 3 of those on this side. Return to the ground and make your way back to downward facing dog. We're going to continue warming up the hips with some circles. So reach one leg into the air, bend your knee, and rotate around in that ball and socket joint about 3 times in each direction. All the while staying strong and stable through your hands and shoulders. You can point and flex your foot a few times, and then bring that first leg back down to the ground so that we can do the same thing on the other side. Lift up, circle the hip, slow and controlled. Reverse direction. And then really open up and point and flex the foot a few times. And we'll return very gently back to downward facing dog. From here, we'll lift the right leg up into the air and step forward to come into just a moderate stance for Warrior One. We're going to get ready for a long journey around the world, or at least around our mats. We'll begin with the right foot forward in Warrior One, and then begin to hinge down from your hips into a humble warrior. Inhaling as you reach up, and exhaling as you hinge down, bringing your right rib to your right thigh. Continue to flow for about 4 or 5 of these. Moving with your own unique breath, keeping your belly and back engaged and strong. Return to Warrior One, and then rotate outward to find a longer stance in Warrior Two. We'll settle in here for a few breaths. And then we're going to begin to flow here. So turn the feet to face the long edge of your mat, and then simply find Warrior Two to face the back of your mat. Taking a pause here this first time. Deepening the front knee bend. Settling in. And then begin to flow with your breath, reaching up, turning back to the original front of your mat for Warrior Two, reaching up, and then turning towards the back of your mat for Warrior Two. Reach up, taking a deep breath. Warrior Two facing the front of the mat. Reach up, pivot turn. Warrior Two facing the back of the mat. We'll do another round. Warrior Two facing the back of the mat. Then take just a small step and turn forward with your back leg. You'll wind up facing the back of your mat in Warrior One. We're going to get ready for that humble warrior flow. So shift down at the hips and come forward, and then reach back up as you breathe in. Exhale, humble warrior. Inhale, Warrior One. Tip down, bringing the left rib to the left leg, and reach up towards the ceiling. Doing 4 or 5 of these. And then making your way back to Warrior One. We're going to bring our hands all the way to the ground and just tuck the torso inside of the front leg, coming into a lizard lunge, dropping your back knee to the ground. For now, keep your left knee pulled in towards the body, strengthening the inner thigh and the adductor muscles. When you've had enough on that side, come back to a tabletop and shift the hips from side to side. We're going to get into that lizard lunge on the other side. It might be helpful to come from downward facing dog. When you feel ready, guide your right leg forward, your foot to the front of the mat, and make sure that you position your leg wide enough that your torso can fit right inside the right inner thigh. Keep your knees stacked above your ankle in this lizard lunge, and take 3 or 4 full rounds of breath right here. Breathing in through your nose and out of your nose. When you're finished, tuck your back toes and lift the knee up. We're going to turn to the opposite long edge of the mat now into Skandasana, or a side lunge. And start to shift back and forth, moving side to side. If this feels uncomfortable to your knees, do it much higher. But if you're feeling good, you can sit all the way down onto one heel as your opposite toes point up towards the sky. Move back and forth at your own pace. And next time that you end up with your left knee bent, we're going to pivot back to the original front of the mat. So we've made it all the way around the mat, full circle, and we wind up back in a lizard lunge. This time we'll explore a different variation. You might stay up on your hands or come down to your forearms. A nice option is to add blocks underneath the forearms. And then we're going to let the left hip externally rotate or drop out to the side with your knee. You might feel some pressure, some rolling to the lateral edge of your foot. And you could even take your left hand and press in really, really gently to the inner thigh. Really nice deep inner thigh stretch here. When you're finished, come back up to your hands, realign your knee over your ankle, and step forward into Malasana, or garland. We're going to get ready to do that wide-legged lizard on the other side. So bring your hands to the ground and step your left leg back this time, lowering the back knee to the earth, taking whatever depth you would like to take with your arms. Maybe you bring your forearms to the floor, or maybe you place your forearms on blocks. And then if you'd like to add that little turn towards your knee and the gentle outward press, you can angle your left forearm so that it's parallel to the front of the mat. And use your right hand to hold your knee or to gently press your inner thigh. When you're ready to come out, move back up onto your hands, realign the front knee over the ankle, and step forward to Malasana, Garland. A really nice option in Garland is to sit on your blocks. You can even stack 2 blocks on top of each other if that feels good. And we're going to get ready to move directly into Bakasana, or crane posture. If you are using blocks, you can use them to your advantage here by giving your lower body a little bit of extra height, standing up on the blocks. Of course, if you don't have blocks, you can do this right from the floor. But I find the blocks just help to lift the lower body up and get us ready. Shift some weight into your hands and slowly begin to lift your feet up towards your tailbone. You're going to squeeze your upper arms with your knees with all of your might. And when you feel finished, gently lower back to the blocks. Move them out of your way and come for a little rest in Child's. When you're ready, shift forward into tabletop position, and from here tuck your toes and pull back to downward facing dog. Make your way to the top of your mat, taking a forward fold, and then reaching all the way up to extended mountain. We'll bring the hands to the center of the chest, and then reach back up, and this time lower down into your chair position. We're going to go for a twist. Let's start by dropping the right shoulder down, twisting to the left, and then get really, really low, coming all the way down. Walk your hands all the way over to the left side of your mat. We're going to go into a side crow here. Make a little shelf with your elbows and see if you can lift your feet up off the floor. When you're finished, come back to the center and press all the way into your forward bend. Rise up and bring your hands to center. I'll turn to face you for the other side, just so that you can see another angle of that whole revolved chair into side crow. So start by sitting low into your chair and twist towards the right. Take a few breaths there and then recenter, dropping your hips really low and walking your hands off to the side. You can make a little shelf with your elbows. I like to tiptoe my feet away from my torso so that I'm really ready to go, and then squeeze your inner thighs and feet together as you lift the feet up off the ground. When you're finished, lower back down, and then reach your hips up into the air, taking a pause in your forward bend. For this next little sequence, you're probably going to want those blocks. So take a moment to get your blocks and set them up on either side at the top of your mat. Pedal out, stretching the calves and your hamstrings here. And then pick one leg and step it forward to the front of your mat. We're going to get into a low lunge. So your back knee will be resting down. And to deepen your hip flexors stretch, you might bring your hands up onto the blocks in their highest position. When you're ready, start to shift back into your half split, Ardha Hanumanasana, and drift with your breath between lunge and half split. Every time you shift back, pointing your toes slightly upward, and then grounding the front foot when you shift forward. Remember, you can adjust the height of your blocks. Eventually come back into stillness in that half split. And if you're feeling inspired to roll into or to shift into your full split, or just a little deeper half split, begin to slide your front heel forward until you feel a nice deep stretch. This will be different places for all of us, and it might even be really different on one side of your body compared to the other. So listen in and make sure that you just move as deep as feels good. Eventually come back to your lunge and then make your way back to tabletop position, shifting from side to side. We'll get set up for the same thing on the opposite side. So when you're ready, come back to downward facing dog. Lift your opposite leg and step that forward for your kneeling lunge position. Again, you can place your blocks right underneath your shoulders and just take a moment here in your lunge position and then shift on back into your half split. When we come into lunge, we're really stretching the hip flexors of the back leg. And then when we shift into that half split, we're stretching the hamstrings of the front leg. Both of these areas of the body need to be warmed up and flexible if there's any chance that we're going to come into comfort in a split. So keep shifting back and forth at your own breath pace. And then when you feel ready, explore moving deeper into Hanumanasana, your split, on this side. Another nice use for the blocks, rather than putting your hands on the blocks, is to slide one or both blocks right underneath the back of your front leg. When you've had enough time in that position, bring your hands back to your blocks for a little bit of assistance to return to your lunge position. Slowly make your way back to tabletop. And then we're going to take a moment in child's. From child's posture, tuck your toes and pull back to downward facing dog. Take a lift up through your right leg and draw forward into one-legged pigeon. Tuck your back toes to draw your back knee back. You might stay on your hands, or you could reach one hand back and grab the top of your foot or ankle. Or if you'd like to try moving into mermaid, you can tuck that foot, your back foot, into the crease of your elbow. Maybe even reaching the other hand up and over and connecting. When you've had enough time there, release. Try to release that back leg without flinging it. And then guide your front leg back into downward facing dog. We'll get ready to do the same thing on the opposite side. So this time, lift your left leg up and guide it through to one-legged pigeon, Ekapada Kapotasana. Stay lifted through your torso, using your hands on the mat for support. Once you feel settled there, you might explore the option of reaching back and holding the top of your foot or your ankle. Or you might explore tucking those back toes and the top of your foot into your elbow crease and coming into mermaid. This is a nice big stretch for the side of the body and of course those hip flexors of the back leg. Continue to breathe. Hopefully you're imagining you're on a beach somewhere. And when you're ready, release your back leg. This time we'll come back right into child's. It might feel good to stack your hands or your fists for a little extra support for your head. Keeping the spine long. Take a smooth breath in and a full breath out. We're going to transition up from child's pose and around into a seated staff posture. Take a moment to make sure that your pelvis is neutral, not tipping back. And then draw your right foot in towards your inner thigh. If it's enough, stay there. We'll just do a regular head to knee posture. But if you'd like to explore half lotus, you can bring that right foot up into your hip crease. Take a little forward fold. You could even tuck your other leg underneath before taking your forward fold. So there are lots of choices for Ardha Padmasana, half lotus, with a forward bend. You could certainly place your block underneath your forehead or stack your fists. And if you've been in the posture for some time and you feel like you want to deepen, stretch your arms out like you would in extended child's. Eventually bring your hands under your shoulders and rise all the way back up. We'll take a little twist towards the bent knee while we're still in that half lotus position. And then when you're ready, revolve back and release your leg. Recheck to make sure you're sitting up tall, and then guide your opposite leg in, bringing your left foot to your inner thigh or all the way up into your hip crease, whichever one works for you. So maybe that's what feels good, and then you take your forward fold from there. Or perhaps you want to take that outstretched leg and tuck it underneath, and then take your forward bend. Remember your options of supporting your forehead with a block, your fists, or your hands, or simply allowing your forehead to come all the way down onto your mat. Breathing deeply. And when you're finished, bring your hands under your shoulders and press all the way back up. Stretch out your bottom leg and take a little twist towards your bent knee, keeping your spine long and tall and looking back over your back shoulder. Eventually, come back to center and release, returning to your seated staff position. We're going to return to a half lotus posture. So bring your right foot up to your hip crease again. And if that feels like it's enough, just stay there, but this time stay seated upright. If you'd like to try full lotus, Padmasana, then you'll pick up and tuck the other foot into your hip crease. You can even revisit that Padma Mudra that we did earlier. Now your hands and your legs are in lotus position. When you're ready, untangle your legs, back to Sukhasana, comfortable seated posture, and switch sides. When you feel ready to release, guide your legs back down to the ground and prepare to roll onto your back. Bring the blocks down with you. You can even set them up right now on either side of your waist, because we're going to have an opportunity to take a supported and reclined butterfly position, or Supta Baddha Konasana. First, draw your knees into your chest and make sure you feel settled and connected to the earth. Then, bring your feet to the ground. Bring the soles of your feet together and allow your knees to open up like a book. The blocks can be positioned right underneath your upper legs for the most support. If you feel like you want a little bit deeper stretch, slide the blocks out wider so that they are a little bit closer to your knees. Take a few gentle breaths right here in our final posture before relaxation. giving your body an opportunity to rest and restore, and then using your hands to guide your knees back together and stretch your legs out for final relaxation. If you were using blocks, they can make a nice little rest for your hands. Keep your elbows on the floor and just allow the block on each side to support your hand and your wrist. Make sure you feel comfortable and at ease, and feel free to pause this video and take 5 or 10 minutes here resting and integrating your practice. Really savoring this important time of rest. When you do feel ready to return, guide your knees into your chest and roll over onto one side. Taking a few breaths there. And then making your way up to a comfortable seated position. Take a moment here to tune in, feel the effects of your practice, and sense the space in the room around you. Thank you for practicing with me today. Namaste.